what the WEF has stood for, which is export, offshore, far shore, find the cheapest labor in the world, and the world is a better place for it. The fact is, it has left America behind. It has left the American workers behind. And what we are here to say is that America First is a different model, one that we encourage other countries to consider, which is that our workers come first. We can have policies that impact our workers. Sovereignty is your borders. You're entitled to have borders. You shouldn't offshore your medicine. You shouldn't offshore your semiconductors. You shouldn't offshore your entire industrial base and have it be hollowed out beneath you. You should not be dependent for that which is fundamental to your sovereignty on any other nation. And if you're going to be dependent on someone, it darn well better be your best allies. Okay? And so that is a different way of thinking. It is completely different than the WEF. I viewed the WEF as not a flagpole in the middle, but in fact, they are the flag. Whichever way the wind blew, so it blew. You should have solar, you should have wind. Why are you going to do solar and wind?
Guys, thank you so much for joining me. John Soto, this is SotoCast. This is Lutnick absolutely destroying the WEF, the World Economic Forum, as you know, the acronym he calls it. But think about this. He's on stage with these people that this is their thing. This is like their event. And he's going up there and just saying, this is all dog shit, and we're not going to deal with it anymore. And they went there purposely. I mean, Lutnick, Bassett, Trump, they demolished this audience. They obviously listened to all the other speakers go and stuff like that, and they were locked and loaded and ready to go. I'm going to do a couple of videos on this because it was just, this was a masterclass on like taking it out, throwing it on the table, essentially, if you know what I'm talking about. That's what they did here. I mean, the people there were absolutely stunned. I don't know. It was just wild. Listen to him go on here, and then we'll talk a little bit. So in that particular thing, obviously, he's talking about so many countries right there, right? China is probably one of the main focuses in this thing. Just like most people say that, how can we as a nation not make things that are vital to our safety, to our security, to our livelihood? You know, we have it in the hands of a foreign nation that is an adversarial foreign nation at that. And this is why, like a lot of the traditional economists, a lot of the libertarian, even conservative economists, they were very, very leery of the tariffs. Very leery of free market. Let the free market reign. If people want to charge us for selling to them, that's their problem. That's dumb. But get as much as you can in at no cost to your people so your people can have more. That was essentially, I mean, that's a very dumbed down version, but that was essentially the idea of conservative economists, libertarian economists, and just a lot of economists in general. And Trump railed against that, but with a purpose. Essentially saying that, yes, if everyone was kind of on the same page and we were, you know, we weren't stymied in some things that are deeply important, like creating medicine, for example, then, you know, then you're hollowing out the entire industrial base of a country. If you are not creating things that are absolutely detrimental to your survival as a people, and you're offshoring that to essentially, you know, slave labor across the pond that doesn't like us very much. Not a good look. Not a good look. Look at what happened during COVID. Look at the shit show that was with getting medications and you know, I remember like children's Tylenol and you know, all of these things that we just couldn't get because we got cut off. And that should teach us something. It should teach us that at the very least, tariffs should be used to have a carve out in the U.S. That we should be able to at least have a small industry of almost anything that, if in the event something like catastrophic happens, we can always ramp up production. But if we're making zero of it, to go from 5% to 20% is a lot easier than going from 0 to 10%. Because if you have no industry at all, if you're starting from scratch, that's a whole different ballgame. A whole different ballgame than ratcheting up production. So I took it back a little bit just because I want to get a fine point on the point he was just about to make when it comes to Europe.
WEF as not a flagpole in the middle, but in fact, they are the flag. Whichever way the wind blew, so it blew. You should have solar, you should have wind. Why are you going to do solar and wind? Why would Europe agree to be net zero in 2030 when they don't make a battery? They don't make a battery. So if they go 2030, they are deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the batteries. Why would you do that? Why would the United States of America, which has oil and natural gas, try to convert to all electricity? China does not have oil and natural gas. Electricity and electric cars make perfect sense to them. That is practical and logical. So the point I want to make, and I want people to think about, is that America first is the job of our government to take care of our workers, to make sure their lives are better for it. And then, don't be America alone, right? But be America first. And I would suggest that policy is something for other countries to deeply consider, to take care of their own, and then we will work out wonderful relationships between us. But I want to point out, when America shines, the world shines. Close your eyes and think of a world without America in it. It becomes pretty dark, pretty darn quickly. When America shines, right? And everyone said, oh, you're going to do all these tariffs, you're going to destroy the world. The world's stock markets are up. Which ones of them? All of them.
Can I bring you back to Greenland?
These guys, they're like the dream team. I'm gonna, like I said, I'll do a Besset and Trump later, but listen to how he goes about Greenland right now. It's a good pivot, but again, it's just common sense, right? And he's bringing it right to these people. These are the people. I mean, this was wonderful to see. Wonderful to see all of these speeches that they did.
No. It's unnecessary. It's the Western Hemisphere is vital for the United States of America. Our national security people are on it, and they care about it, and I'm going to leave it to them to address with our allies, with our friends, and with everyone how they work it out. But the Western Hemisphere matters to the United States of America, and the United States of America, as I've just articulated, really, really matters to the world. When America shines, the world shines, because they all need to make sure America is strong and powerful to take care of them, God forbid. And so I think America and the Western Hemisphere are vital to America, and I'm going to leave that to my national security people to address.
Right. The rest of us, I think, are finding it harder to make that kind of separation clearly. And I would be curious to know how the representatives of the UK and Canada might want to think about these issues. Do you see them as starkly divided, as Secretary Lutnick would like us to have them? Does this logic of what's good for America is good for the world convince in this extraordinarily strong, extremely eloquent expression that we've just heard?
You go first.
Thank you. Thanks, Francois Philippe.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to combat this guy. And here's the takeaway. The takeaway is that for too long, right? If you have the deepest pockets, if you are the most industrious, if you are the most productive, if you have made a society in which the productivity has so far outpaced almost all other of these countries, then you see time after time, president after president, just us being taken advantage of over and over and over again, and it being just portrayed as being just nice. You know, we want to be benevolent. We want to be, you know, the amount of money that leaves our country and just disappears into the ether, going overseas, or there's paying people off, or whatever it is. It's just infuriating, and people have had enough. And finally, there's an administration that's being put in place and putting in the work to say we're not going to do this anymore, because we're at a point almost of no return where our generosity obviously has to run out, because we don't even have enough to take care of ourselves anymore. Like we're finding it difficult. The middle class is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. The squeeze is being put onto the American people, and you know, he actually, this is a pretty long back and forth. But he talks about that. He talks about the American worker and why are we outsourcing all of these things at the detriment to the American worker. Guys, if you're still here, please hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate that. Helps me out a lot. That's all I need. Just subscribe. You don't have to do anything else. If you want to, that's great. But yeah, man, he is a monster. He's fantastic. He really is. And you know, I'm just fascinated to see what the responses are to the people that were there. A lot of people, actually, some high profile people walked out during this speech. But yeah, it's pretty great, man. We are super back. You got to be super excited. Take a look at all these speeches because they're phenomenal. They're phenomenal. Like these back and forths that they had. They went there and they scorched earth on the World Economic Forum. It was fantastic to see. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. 6283 Talk on the X if you want to follow me there. I'm John Soto. See you again in the next video, guys. Take care.
Shines.